This is Derana's continuing coverage on the coronavirus crisis.
A very good evening and welcome to this special episode of Get Real, our continuing coverage on the coronavirus crisis. I am here with Army Commander Lieutenant General Silva and also Admiral Jainath Kolumbage. They are members of the COVID Task Force that have been established to take care of the current crisis here in Sri Lanka. Let's get directly to the discussion. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here once again and accepting my invitation to come on board. Lots of things to discuss about. Army Commander, if I start with you, yesterday the third person died, demise due to COVID complications. He's a 72-year-old individual from Maradona, which is close to our studios here. Now there's a quarantine effort is underway in that particular area. Can you just brief us exactly what's the latest on this crisis?
Yeah, of course, unfortunately one person died last evening. Of course, at that time there was a bit of a confusion whether we've been house or self-quarantine or whether the area will be blockaded and all that. But none of them, I mean, His Excellency the President, the Prime Minister, no one wanted to have a thing like that. Mm-hmm. But as you know that the houses, it's a three-storied building complex, the way that I know. And we are always worried about as to how when a person get confirmed from corona, how many contacts that they had, and how it has spread. It has gone beyond only to a particular area or beyond. So there are a lot of considerations when we consider for such things. So as of now, it's only a few hours since then. Initially, we have actually kept the area under surveillance, and as of now, with the information what we are getting, how many he had contacted and all that, most likely the case would be that like what we did in Beruala, like what we did in Negombo, most likely to ensure the safety of the people of that flats and the people whom he had got contacted, most likely the option would be that all of them who have got contacted with them will be taken to a quarantine center. Mm-hmm. Because as you know, at times you find that the houses are small and a lot of people are living in one particular house. So it's not just trying to quarantine one particular place, but we have to ensure the safety of the numbers inside one house also. We have seen in the past in Negombo, so one person getting infected, and after that all five, including a 4-month-old baby, getting infected from corona. So we can't allow that to happen. So His Excellency the President, the Prime Minister have discussed, and already that is how we got Berual yesterday. So therefore, most likely the possibility is that they will be quarantined in a quarantine center, not in a house or self-quarantine.
Indeed, Army Commander. Admiral, one of the questions that keeps arising with regard to this quarantine process is the fact that after quarantine, they're self-quarantining in their houses. Is that effective? Is that, I mean, can't these people actually continuously contract it to other people despite the fact that they stay in the houses? Because even in the news we actually saw like certain people when the food carts come by, they come out of the house, they try to engage, that kind of this thing. So is it effective?
Well, you see, this self-quarantine or house quarantine is a concept that the practice world over. But you see, it depends on few other factors. The size of the house. How many people are living in that house? How many people are living in the close neighborhood, right? So it doesn't really mean that, I think that's why General explained, we have to now determine whether we are inviting or asking them to be self-quarantined in their own house, which I think has not worked. Of course, it may have worked in some places where you have enough space for a person who is isolated from the rest of the family, who has access to a separate bathroom, then it can work. But if you have one common toilet and maybe 1 or 2 rooms in a house full of people, this cannot work. So that's why I think the new strategy that, should there be some positive cases, that probably they would be taken to a quarantine center which is actually equipped to look after people under quarantine. There is like this social distancing or the physical gap between people, and then there is medical staff to look after. The army is in charge of that, and the doctors keep visiting, and they are being monitored on a regular basis. So that will definitely work, and we know that it has worked. I mean, now we have quarantine large number of people, and maybe nearly 1,500 to 2,000 people are now out of quarantine centers, and I would say 100% success, because none of them were contracted or infected while they were in the quarantine center. So we have to be now mindful. Yes, house quarantine or self-quarantine we can advise, but the practicality or the efficiency of that concept is a big doubt we have. So that's why I think the best way, even for the family, I mean, if a person in that family is infected, it is really good for the rest of the family members to be quarantined in a proper quarantine center. So I think that's a new strategy that we are now working or discussing on, and I think we may have to go for it in the future because we some of our houses are not as big as others. They are small and they live in a small community, and the chances of an infected person spreading it to the others are really high, and we have seen it with evidence in Putlam, in Kalutara, in Atolugama, in Akurana. We have seen it with evidence, so we have to be mindful of that fact.
Army Commander, very recently, about 2 days back, we saw the numbers spike. The highest cases found on a single day, 20 was found. And one of the fear that spread all across the country was the fact that has your team, the COVID Task Force, have you all managed to map as to who these people have interacted? 20 is a large number, which means they have interacted with a large population. So have you all managed to do that?
Yeah, of course, we have been 100% effective. As of today, this is the success story that we can talk, because you see that the incident that you are referring to, we found a person came from Indonesia and Thailand after a trip. We found 3 groups of that nature who came to Sri Lanka on the 13th, 15th and the 17th. So one such person got confirmed from Corona in Putlam. So what we did was, we went through the contacts that he made, then secondary contacts by them, all their details. We have a very efficient system as of now. One day we will talk.
Yes.
We will wait for that, okay? So we can talk. So that is very successful. This is a very good example that you took. So what we did was, we identified these contacts and spoke to the President, the Prime Minister, and President decided, yes, we should get them to a quarantine center. Now this is the first time from the society we are establishing a quarantine center. Up to that, what we had was people who came from abroad brought to quarantine centers, and we had 48 quarantine centers, and we went up to beyond 3,600 we quarantined, and as Admiral said, we were 100% there. Now here, what happened was, first time we are establishing a quarantine center because of that, and we got 88 of them to be quarantined. As Admiral said, here in this house, you find one room, one bedroom house, and you find 5 to 6, 7 people living there. So definitely we can preach, we can tell, we can, like you all, the media are doing a huge job. Every media is doing a huge job. You can tell, but you find, after all, telling to keep social distance, you find the curfew lifted, how they behave on roads. Then what do you think inside the house? We will not see. We don't have cameras to see. So there's a limit that we can afford. A government is responsible to look after to protect the people of this nation. So therefore, this decision was taken by His Excellency, the President and the Prime Minister, and the Army was once again tasked to establish a quarantine center in Putlam, close by. So Putlam East, we established a quarantine center with 88 people. Now, what happened thereafter? We went with these contacts and we found, yes, this 88 was brought, but we found that few have contacted very closely. So usually up to 2 days back, till this incident, usually what happens is a person, only a suspected person with the symptoms are checked for this quarantine. The PCR test is done for either they should have symptoms and the doctor feel that now it's time to do a PCR test, the corona test in layman language. So that is how people have been doing that. On this particular day, because we have seen this contracts, the way that you are contracted, so we requested a PCR test to be conducted for some of these people. So the health authorities came to the quarantine center, got the samples, and 19 of them were tested. And we found for the first time 10 are confirmed, those who do not even had any symptoms. Okay, this is on a suspicious basis, we did that. So therefore, once again to go back to your question, yes, we have a very successful story here as to how we monitor. That is why we said, even during the wartime, our intelligence was so good. We found not only the house, behind the house, the bunker, we managed to bomb such places. I mean, we were specific and 100% there, you see, so accurate. It's the same thing, it's happening here. We are so accurate right now. That is why when President started off his policy on COVID-19 to prevent the COVID-19 or eradicate from Sri Lanka, he had containment, the spreading, and then he had to ensure that the people have been, those who get confirmed, to look after. So this is how it started. So we have done that. And intelligence, the military, then police, and especially the health sector, they are monitoring, and that is why we went up to beyond 28,200 like.
This is within the quarantine.
That was a house quarantine, okay? Even them, we knew exactly who they are, what are their contacts, and we are monitoring even up to now. Of course, some people after the 5th or 1st, 2nd, then 10th, we are not now considering, but we did that. So this was successful. That is how we found this.
Indeed, I want to talk more about with regard to the burial process, and also there are certain rumors flying on social media. I want to get a response from the Army Commander, but before that, let's take a short commercial break. You're watching Get Real, our special coverage on the coronavirus crisis.
This is Ada Derana's continuing coverage on the coronavirus crisis. This is Ada Derana's continuing coverage on the coronavirus crisis.
Welcome back, everyone, to Get Real, our special coverage on the coronavirus crisis. I'm here with Army Commander Lieutenant General Silva and also Admiral Dr. Derana, who are members and who are the men who's leading the task force established to curtail the current COVID-19 crisis here in Sri Lanka. Army Commander, there was like very recently community started, rebelling back. This was with regard to the Muslim communities who we heard the fact that, the burial process, they wanted it to be done in a certain way, but the government says it should be done in the way the World Health Organization has recommended, so that, it will not continuously spread. What is the reality of this? Are you all considering the faith here, or are you all considering the risk factor when processing these individuals who have demised because of COVID-19?
Of course, thank you very much. First of all, I have to tell about this. We are not the authority. I am not the authority, neither Admiral. The authority lies with the Director General Health Services. He is the authority in Sri Lanka. But since you have asked this question, I being in the operation center, I should be able to answer something. Yes, this was actually, there was a rumor also, you would have seen that a group of this community came to meet me, not for this reason. They came for some other reason. They were actually brought to educate, actually get the assistance to educate the community.
You're referring to this picture which two individuals from the Muslim faith having a discussion with you, where later it was said all around social media saying that you agreed that if by any chance a person dies, a person from the Muslim faith dies due to coronavirus or complications from COVID-19, that they would be buried. Is that true?
Yes. No, I'm not. It's not true. It's not true. It is the story that I am referring to. It is the story that I am referring to. I had to be very specific in this region. Actually, that is what I brought. Some people wanted to see and to discuss about the coronavirus and how things are happening, and especially when we actually had to quarantine two villages, actually village and a town of Corona, and so we wanted to have a discussion on that. So we were discussing on that. But the picture, yes, I know who took the picture because it was in our headquarters. So he accepted who took the picture, but he himself said that he never mentioned like that. He just shared the picture within the people, not only two people. There are more than 10 people who came for the meeting. So he said that he had shared the picture, but he was not aware until I told that somebody had written something else. How can I give promises like that? I'm not the Director General Health Service. I have no authority whatsoever there. But only thing, when we discussed the other thing that what we brought to discuss, at the end of the day, at the last minutes, that they spoke about their concern about this issue. So all what I told them was that I will convey their concerns. Only thing that I can do is to convey the concerns that they discuss at our meeting. That's all. So in fact, my officers contacted this particular person, especially the person who took the picture, and some people. Then soon after that, they put I think, release on this, like a press release sort of a thing. They did that and they said no. They never told something like that. It's somebody created this and told. And especially I have to tell the people of this nation, how can I give authority like that? I'm not the Director General Health Services, or I have no authority to tell like that. So you asked about the question about this burial thing. Yes, I mean, the guidelines are given by the WHO and various other organizations give guidelines. And the Director General goes through all that. And at the end of the day, you ask two things, whether it's the rituals, the systems of that, or whether
whether are we considering the risk factor?
Risk factor. So at the end of the day, most likely everybody must understand why this COVID-19 task force are being formed. Everything is done to ensure the risk factor is the zero. So this is I think the government has decided already what should be the course of action for such type of deaths, and that will be the thing, and we have to adhere to that.
Albera, what is your take? You are working with the government very closely, and you are actually establishing certain processes as we go on. This has never happened in our history. We have never come across something like this in modern history. So this is like first time we are going through this. What kind of action plan are you looking at to make sure that we have to do, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, we have to respect certain religious norms and these things, but then again, it cannot precedent the risks towards communities and a country.
Well, I mean, you ask about the strategy. In fact, when we started this Corona Action Committee and then the task force, we were evolving as we were going alone. But now, of course, we got together and we have planned a long-term strategy covering each sector, whether it is the medical sector, the social sector, economic sector. So there is a proper strategy is in place, and there are various subcommittees appointed to handle various committees, and now that report is being formed into one comprehensive report. So even yesterday we had a meeting with General, so we discussed about it. So that strategic part, yes, in the beginning we did not have a long-term strategy because, as you said, this is something which came all of a sudden. But you see, I think the best part in Sri Lanka and the success story so far is we were taking action before it became an issue in the country. we were proactively taking action. The president, I think one of the first days when the Wuhan crisis started, he created an action committee. And he said to take action. And then our airport, I think there was a report in the BBC. They were interviewing a person who had gone back from Sri Lanka to Heathrow, and he was of full praise about the arrangements or the mechanisms. So that means now even General mentioned about the World Health Organization. Yes, we take all the guidelines from the World Health Organization. But even before the World Health Organization declared this as a pandemic and gave out direction, we were having our own directions in Sri Lanka and we were implementing it. So that is basically the initiative by the president, who took a very proactive, far-sighting initiative even before it was a concern for the rest of the world other than China. So that is one success we have. Now, about the sentiments of a community, yes, we are a multi-ethnic, multi-religious community, but this is not the time for us to think about our faith, our community. This is a time to talk about science. This is a time to talk about medicine. This is the time to talk about a virus. Right? Now we know that the virus can get into a medium like a human body and it can stay there for a long time. Now unless we...
So just to clarify, if by any chance once it gets into a human body, the whole things that we've heard before saying that, you know, it can last for 8 hours on a glass surface, or whether it can last for 10 hours on a wooden surface, that is not the case. Now this is like for a longer term, it can survive.
I don't think the scientists are even the scientists are clear how long it will last in a human body. Now see, if a person is dead because of the coronavirus, that means he's not cured. That means the virus is very active in his body at the time of his death. Now we bury him, right? Say for example, we bury him and we really do not know how long that virus will last in that body. Right? Now we bury him under the soil, right? And now, you know, Sri Lanka is a small island nation. Our water table is quite high, right? 6 feet, 7 feet, some places you get water table, right? Now imagine such a body contaminating the water, not immediately, maybe 6 months' time, 1 year time, 2 years' time, then what will be the situation in the country? So that is why the World Health Organization has given some guidelines how to dispose the body. So there, I think we have to now give in to science, right? And the risk factor. Now many people predict this virus cannot be eradicated in a month or two. But then also they fear that it can come back again after a few months. So we have to factor all these considerations in, and we have to minimize the risk, and we have to close down every possible avenues for the growth of the virus. So this is the time not to be very sensitive about or sentiment about what you believe, but this is the time to give into science. This is not a normal situation. This is not a normal riots or not even war. This is a sickness. This is a virus. This is a health issue.
Indeed, a very good thing to ponder upon, but I want to talk more about what's happening here in Sri Lanka, how we will go ahead with the current situation. Are we going to see more curfew? Are we going to see, our way of life returning back to normalcy? Well, what is normalcy going to be? Is it going to be something completely different than what we are used to? Let's talk all about that, but before that, let's take a short commercial break. This is Get Real, our special coverage on the coronavirus crisis.
This is Ada Derana's continuing coverage on the coronavirus crisis. This is Ada Derana's continuing coverage on the coronavirus crisis.
Welcome back everyone to Get Real. This is our special coverage on the coronavirus crisis. I'm here in conversation with Army Commander Lieutenant General Sri Silva and also Admiral Dr. Janath Kulamage. Army Commander, one of the things that is keep highlighting is the fact that when will curfew be over, and what kind of normalcy can we expect? And there are certain other not per se accusation, but concerns raised is the fact that why certain areas have been cordoned off, why certain villagers have been cut off from the rest of the public. Is it really because there's COVID-19 cases, or is it just done out of precaution? What's your response to this?
Yeah, of course. About the first question, we all would like to see that tonight the curfew is finished, COVID is gone out of the country. These are the things that every citizen of this country, not only every citizen, even the World Health Organization, even the Secretary General of United Nations also must be wanting to see that at least one country come out like this. That is our hope, and that is what we are working for. But unfortunately, as of today, it all depends on the people of this nation. How our people are going to behave will decide for how long that we are going to go. That is the yardstick that we have to think of. No other reasons. We can have the best of, we know that we have the best, very knowledgeable doctors who are very really professionals we have in our country. But what can they do? What can they do? We have taken, the President, the Prime Minister, we all have taken the best steps, the best practices we are putting into practice. As Admiral said, yes, we have planned, we have got strategies well in advance. We are working on a strategy. We are not just going, we are not going like that. But everything is in place. But at the end of the day, the curfew and hours and when we are going to finish all that depends on the self-discipline of the people of this nation. If we behave well, if we keep our physical distance, if we practice the best practices what our professional doctors are asking us to practice, then we can see. But we can't forecast, we can't foresee immediately as of now. We believe, we wish, we pray that we will soon as possible, we will eradicate COVID-19 from Sri Lanka. The second question that you asked about why some village or the township, why only that? Yes, few days back, at the time that we found one who came from India and from Akurana who got COVID-19 confirmed, and before that 2 days back from Ataluwagama in Kalutara, between Panadura and Kalutara, where we found one person there. So we found at Ataluwagama, if I start talking of Ataluwagama, the village, that village has a lot of people there, and we found that this particular gentleman had a lot of contacts by then, as intelligence.
Contacts as in he has visited the houses?
Spoken to a lot of people, visited things like that. So we got altogether about 20 of such people to a quarantine center. But while doing that, that is the close contacts, we managed to get it to a quarantine center. But we found that those people also have contacted many people. So the best thing is, the government intention is to ensure that the people are protected. So therefore, we wanted to have a sort of isolate that village from the rest of the people. We would have seen how many people, because this village has very close by, you get another villages. They will try to go in and out. So therefore, we know that it's a little bit of inconvenience to the people, but to ensure that their own safety, we had to isolate that village. Then came to Akurana. Akurana, same thing. Akurana, we found a person there and we isolated that. We have proven the decision was correct by yesterday, day before, from Ataluwagama how many cases confirmed. And same yesterday, Akurana, about 2 to 3 cases were confirmed. So I think every action will have a reaction, but that reaction will be diffused within no time by the system. That is what we have done.
Army Commander, very quickly, when you say cordoning off areas, cordoning off villages, that does not mean you're completely cutting them off, not giving them supplies, completely, they are like on their, that's not the case.
No, definitely not. That is only the people who have no entry and exit. That's it. That is for the people,
they
the
have
population.
Food to eat.
Yeah, but the fact is that all the supplies are going. You would have seen on your TV and other TV channels that the vehicles, the food supply, that is for the people of that, then the medical, everything is gone inside the village. They distribute, they come to the gate, they get that. All that is happening. But only thing, the people are not allowed to go out or people are not allowed to come in.
Admiral, this, like the Army Commander said, this is a new world order. Going forward, there is no other way. We will have to change our lifestyle, we have to change our behavior, and so on. The GMOA recently came and said now we are at a 3.A, level 3.A in this entire pandemic, which is like, this entire thing is spreading to communities and so on. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you think we're there? And if so, what kind of additional steps have been taken by the government to make sure that it doesn't go to the next level?
Well, I mean, if you look at the spread of the virus, the stage 1 is an individual getting infected. Stage 2 is an individual giving to another person. Now, the stage 3 or 3 alpha or 3A is basically a small community or a small household getting infected, and touch wood, that is the stage Sri Lanka is right now in. Now 3B is actually the community spread. Now the community spread is directly proportionate to the mobility of people. Now you asked the question about curfew. Now if we can continue, if we can curtail the mobility of people to about 80%, that means 80% of people not moving, then that curve, like with the detection and curing the virus will be much better. But if we allow like 50-70%, we will take a longer time to come back to the normalcy. So this mobility factor has a direct bearing on the possible spread of coronavirus. So therefore, right now, I think the president is very clear on this. He is going on 3 principles. One is restricting the mobility of the identified high-risk areas. The other one is aggressive testing. Now testing. You have to test people even when they do not show symptoms. That is a now new thing in this work. And the third one is providing whatever the required facilities to our hospital. Now when you combine these 3 factors, and if we can maintain a very minimal mobility of people and aggressive testing and getting ready to enhance the facilities in the hospital sector, I'm sure we can tackle this in a very short time. But we need to be focused. And everything that we do is for the betterment of the country. Everything we do is to get our country cleared of COVID. No one is doing any measures just because they like it or to target some population, nothing like that, absolutely no. It is purely to eradicate the menace from Sri Lanka, and we are still lucky. People were worried about that J curve, right? The exponential curve. We are still on the bottom part of the J, and we have to keep it there, we have to arrest it there, and we have to come back to 0. If we allow this to rise exponentially, we are going to be in a deep trouble. We cannot cope up with it.
If I may ask you, if by any chance, if we, the country, everybody does, just go on their day-to-day life and actually doesn't take responsibility, will we be in a situation like Italy? Will the country go to such a drastic level?
Well, I would say yes. If we don't take precautions, if we don't restrict our mobility, if we do not listen to our health advisors, I'm sure we will be in an uncontrollable situation. And this is exactly what happened in Europe. Now, if you look at the East, Japan, South Korea, and China, they were very well disciplined societies. They listened to the orders, they followed orders, and they were mindful of their hygienic conditions. But then when we came to Sri Lanka, I think India is another different case altogether. Now in Sri Lanka, I see 2 approaches, the law and also the self-discipline or the education. Both are working in Sri Lanka because majority of our people are listening to the advice, majority of our people are abiding by the guidelines, but then when they are not, the law is there. So we are having that approach. But if you look at the West, which is now gone completely out of control, Italy, Spain, Germany, England, America, right? Now there, the preparedness was not there. They did not listen, they did not take it seriously. They did not, there were enough warnings. Now this started in the middle of January in Wuhan. Now we are in the middle of, the first week of April, right? So no country can say we did not know. no country can say we did not receive any advance warning. We had all received the warnings, but Sri Lanka took it very seriously. But we need to be focused for another, I don't know exactly, but I wish, like General said, as quickly as possible to come back to normal. But my estimate is at least the next 2 weeks are crucial. We need to be very mindful. We need to continue with these measures. And I think if we can do that, we will be okay.
Army Commander, one of the other things that is actually in the back burner of people's mind are the fact that if by any chance, if this continues for another a month, 2 months, 3 months, do we have enough supplies? Can this country sustain itself? Can we actually be okay?
Yeah, of course. I think Honorable Basil Rajapaksa had very specifically told, as far as the food is concerned, yes, the rice and stuff, I mean, what we essentially required to survive, we have. I think we have rice. If we see the rice itself, we can run for another 9 months or even for 1 year. I think we have sufficient stuff. The balance, except for I think there's a bit of a shortage, although I'm not the authority to talk about these things, but since you're asking, I have the knowledge. It's like dal and few other things may be a little short, but other than that, I think we are very much all right. One must understand it is not only an isolated case in Sri Lanka. It's a global issue. You know where we get this stuff. You know what has happened to India. If they are not sending stuff from there, what can we do? So we have to, this is a good time, I think, for people of this nation to be Sri Lanka or buy Sri Lanka, be and buy Sri Lanka is the best thing. I think everything happens for something good. And we have, unlike some other nations, think what is not available in this country. Do you think that anyone will starve without food? Okay, no way. No way. We have things to eat. And even if we start today, you are talking of few months,
yes.
Even if you start from today growing something for the period that you are telling, here we will get the harvest. We can run. At least we'll have rice and one curry to eat. You see, we don't think, underestimate, we are very rich in that way, this country. The people can start today, even in a small scale, even in a thing that what somebody was trying to show that we gave cup of tea in a bottle. Okay, you put something in that, you will find that you get a plant and something will come up. So therefore, we are well off. I think, of course, when you consider well off, when I said well off, yes, when you consider with other countries, we will be surviving, definitely, no doubt about it.
Medicine-wise, what is the situation there?
Yes, according to the medical, because we are in the center, we are in the operation center, we know that they have, but of course, one thing understand, one can criticize, whether we have that and this. We have to understand what is, once again, the global, there's a short supply of certain stuff in global wise. And there are certain countries, they have curtailed, no flights going in and out, things are like that happening. But as of now, the way that we know, we are aware that we can manage, but we would like to have more. But the thing is, I think the health sector is managing medicine well, and already I think certain things are coming. I think Admiral will know better than me. So supplies are coming continuously. We have ordered few things that we feel that if we go to this level, that level, that is why we say we are not reactive, we are proactive. We have contingencies planned for all these, for anything, for any eventuality, any area. So therefore, I think we should be okay.
Admiral, I want to pick on that. What is the situation with regard to medicine and all? If by any chance, if this continues for another 3-4 months, do we have the capacity to generate the medicine here in Sri Lanka? Because now we see like hospital beds, which were never thought of being constructed here in Sri Lanka, coming. People are going and constructing them. Face masks are being made here in Sri Lanka, and even ventilators. We saw on Facebook. It may be not on high standard, but still it gets the job done. So are we in a situation to, if by any chance if things goes south, doesn't exactly, if you all have planned, do you think we may have to look internally rather than externally?
Well, a few weeks ago, I saw a letter we sent to a country in the region requesting medical items. And I was thinking, my God, why we are not making them in Sri Lanka? These were not rocket science. These were simple things. Now we are very good in stitching garments for high-end Victoria's Secrets and things like that. But we are not making a simple mask. So this is the time, as General mentioned, to think inward.
Actually, Victoria's Secret is now
Also
in face mask business.
Well, that's another.
Not only all branded items, all branded having
Gucci and all.
face mask.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think this is the time we must look at ourselves, our pharmaceutical industry. I'm sure we can make our own pharmaceutical, at least most of them. A simple Panadol, paracetamol tablet, we are not making enough, right? So we have the capacity, we have the technology, we have enough expertise. So we need to now think of making our own medicine. Right now, General very rightly mentioned, this is a global pandemic. Even if we have enough money, we cannot get items from other countries. So we have to manage with what we have. And of course, coming to last week, we were coming to a slightly critical situation regarding personal protective equipment. But right now, we are very happy because we received a lot of stocks like the face masks, the goggles, the gloves, and the gowns, the overall gowns. We have received a lot of quantities. And also the test kit for PCR, the COVID test kit. Right now, I was told that we have more than 10,000 testing capacity, and it's a matter of time because we have placed orders for the future as well. But all this is if this situation continue as this. But if it rise exponentially high, as you mentioned, we will have problems of ICU beds. We will have problems of ventilators. Now these things, rightly, because there are some young, very enthusiastic people, now they are experimenting. They are getting some components from somewhere and they are trying to make a simple ventilator where the oxygen will be supplied to a required patient under certain control. Now I know the Navy is doing a lot of work on this regard. In this regard, they are trying to fix a small CCTV camera to an ICU bed so the nurse does not have to come to the bed to check. Right, and also remote sensing, checking the temperature of the patient, so the nurse or the medical personnel need not come. And Army, the research department is doing great job. Actually, there is a committee under the under the task force. They are directed to focus on the research and development. Now, I think we must not give up at this stage.
Indeed.
Whatever the inputs that we are putting, we must subject it to comprehensive testing, certification, and try to make them for us. Maybe in the future, who knows? We might require it, we might be able to sell it. Now, right now, many Western countries are asking from us whether we can supply them some personal protective equipment, and already we have sent some samples to UK that reached UK Embassy High Commission 2 days ago. Now, if that is positive, once they do the testing, if it is okay, then we can do a mass production and send it to them because they need it much more than us do, and we are quite okay. But message is we need to maintain this level. If it goes exponentially high, no health system can cope up with that, and we have seen it in these such highly developed countries in the West.
One of the silver linings of this entire pandemic seems to be that we've been asked to look at ourselves and actually enrich our own country. Army Commander, finally, want to know what kind of message do you have? You're leading this particular task force in order to make sure that this crisis does not escalate from the point it is. We have managed to keep it under very low levels, and we are actually monitoring it in a very drastic manner. So what is your message to the people? Because next 2 weeks, next 3 weeks is going to be crucial for the country, for individuals, for families all around this country. What should they do, and what is your message to them?
It's like military. We think of our honesty, integrity. Our integrity in military, Army, Navy, Air Force, we think that is the number one quality one should have, the honesty. So I think if people can be disciplined and be honest to themselves and listen to the guidelines given by the medical specialist and by the government, whatever the instructions are given to people, every instruction is given not just because you want to give. No. After analyzing the environment, the situation, these instructions are given. Every day, corona virus, this is every day people are on research. We still have not found exactly what it is, and we know as of today what we are getting, we are running by that. So people should be, first of all, people should know that it is it's a very dangerous virus, unlike some other viruses. It is a very dangerous virus. If you are disciplined, if you have been asked to stay self-quarantine, then house quarantine, things like that, we should follow. The medical advisors, professionals' advisors, we follow. Then this one thing, what you call is the social law, physical distance, that have to be. So always, even before I have told in this channel also, this won't come to your house just because it's there. No. You go for shopping and you're bringing corona into your house. You have to understand one thing, always, like when we were there for 3 decades war, we were looking at a person coming near us, we were thinking whether it's a suicide bomber. Think once again the same principle goes. Think like a suicide bomber, whether this guy or this person has got corona. We do not know. Okay? Think he has got corona. You can't put him out. Only then you can keep the physical distance and be like that. And you have to think, you don't ever know whether you have got also. Best thing is, as a citizen of this nation, my duty is to ensure that I will not give it to another person.
Indeed.
So therefore, I must keep distance. So if this thing happen, I'm sure that we are all right. The government will maybe lifting curfew at times, thinking for the benefit of some people who really need to get onto the road. That will be done. Just because the curfew is lifted, just to see around, to go on a ride, okay, people should not do that. First of all, one should get protected, therefore be inside the houses, unless otherwise you really require, keep this discipline, we will win this, and we are sure that every time we say we are not a country who has lost, we will never lose, we will some or other win. So please help. Citizens should help the authorities to win this COVID-19.
A very good message to end our conversation today. Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavindra Silva and Admiral Dr. Janat Kulambage, thank you very much once again coming to the program and sharing your idea as well. That's it for tonight. I'll be back again at around 9:35 with World News. Thank you for joining. Bye for now.
This is Ada Derana's continuing coverage on the coronavirus crisis.